Hey everybody, Riding Side Saddle here with Tammy
and Lisa
and Marcy.
It's the three of us. Marcy's back. She's got her own permanent spot in our studio.
She does.
The saddle feels pretty good.
I love that. We're in our indoor-outdoor studio again. It's cool today in Wisconsin, so we've got our windows down. We hope the extra noise doesn't bother anybody, but it's just too hot in here if we don't have the windows rolled down.
All of this hot air.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
3 women in a car with a lot to say. We got to have the air moving.
More to say than air in the car.
Yeah, probably so.
True.
So we thought we would have a little chat today about women raising women.
Woo.
Yeah,
that's
it's loaded.
yes, it is.
We got a lot to talk about.
There is a lot.
So many things that I don't even know how to start, actually.
Right?
Like mothers of daughters.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic that all three of us have, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, myself, I have 2 daughters.
I gave birth to 2 daughters, and then
Yeah.
I'm a stepmom to a daughter and a son.
Yeah.
So I have 3 girls and a boy.
And I have 2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
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 But Marcy, you were just sharing something that was really interesting, and it's again something that we both have in common.
Yeah. So, growing up, I'm the oldest of 3, and I have 2 younger brothers. So I've never had that sister relationship. I didn't grow up in a girl house, but I had a lot of friends who had sisters, and honestly, it didn't seem all that exciting to me. There was a lot of tears and emotional. I think that's what always stood out to me, was that emotional warfare.
Yeah.
With my brothers, we'd fight. Yep. We'd hit each other. It was over. It was done, and we didn't carry it. But I remember thinking of my friends that had sisters, of all of that emotional that was carried. So when we had our second child, and it was my second daughter, and totally excited, loved it, kind of loved the idea of dressing my little girls the same, can't lie, loved that.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like, holy shit, what am I in for? I don't know how to be a mom to daughters, right? Like to multiple, and to that manage that relationship as well as our own relationships. And so
And
it
yourself.
was, and
manage
myself,
yourself.
and manage myself, and learn how to be a mom, because I'm
There's
learning
no
it.
playbook.
There's no playbook. I'm learning every day. So that was really daunting, and it felt, just like a lot of pressure, because I didn't want them to have that emotional warfare. I didn't want that for them. I much would have rather they just hit each other and got over it.
Right. How far apart are your girls?
About a little over 2 years.
Okay. So right in there, right?
Right in there.
Oh, for sure.
They were really right in there where they would have that experience of emotional warfare.
Exactly.
If it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very similarly, I am the oldest of 3 children and the only girl. So my brothers were younger than me too. My dynamic was a little bit different, I think, with my brothers, because I was 5 years older, or I am 5 years older than my middle brother, and 7 years older than my youngest. So I was kind of this weird momish type of role, as opposed to getting in there and like having fights with them and like hitting each other. I was more of the like, hey, don't do that. Hey, be careful. Hey, you should do this instead. Or I would save my youngest
I did
brother.
plenty of that.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. There was plenty of older sister going on.
Yeah.
That was definitely happening.
Yeah,
and then I'd hit them.
You're right. I mean, I did that
Just,
kind of stuff too. My well, I won't go into that, but I was a little torturous because I was a lot stronger than them too, right? So I could do really cruel and
bolder and
unusual
more
things
clever.
to them.
Oh,
Yes.
faster,
definitely.
thinker.
Still more clever. But to your point, there wasn't a lot of that emotional warfare in my family
Right.
either. So growing up was
I think there's
different.
a skunk nearby. All of a sudden I smell
Oh.
wildlife. It's not great.
Oh. I don't smell it.
I
Really?
don't either.
Are you kidding?
No,
It's really strong.
We're all sniffing in the, in the studio.
I'm
now.
not, because I can smell it.
Oh, I can't.
Really? Oh, I don't know.
Huh.
Well, all right, whatever. Sorry to interrupt. I smell it. I do have a really strong sense of smell, so maybe it just hasn't hit you yet.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Good to
yeah.
know.
Well, we'll
Good
just
to know.
we'll just keep
yeah, keep-
rolling.
We'll be
Yeah.
on alert.
See what happens.
I just don't want it to, like, come close and spray the car with the window open.
No,
Oh,
that wouldn't be
That would
good.
be terrible.
That would be terrible.
I know. I'm a little nervous now.
So
Anyway.
so this dynamic
Yeah,
of
It's kind of stinky.
it is.
much like skunks.
Anyway.
Well, I am also the oldest of 3 kids. My brother is 2 years younger than me, and my sister is 10 years younger than I am.
Ah.
So while we did have 2 girls in the house at the same time, I was so much older than her
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she has her own recollection of things, but to me, it was just, one more person I had to watch out for and take care of.
Sure.
And I may have just been the crabby older sister where
Right.
she was concerned. You know what I mean?
Right.
She was bothering me. We shared a room.
You were
Or you could have
indifferent.
been the really fun, cool older sister.
I wasn't.
I
wasn't.
I don't
I
know.
seriously
I
doubt
kind
that.
of-
I seriously doubt it.
I'm
was.
having a hard time believing that.
No, because I'm not. Because who I was then is not who I am today.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I was not. And we definitely were not having hormonal things happening at the
Sure.
same time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So she was on my last nerve. My brother was on my last nerve. Everybody was on my last nerve.
Well, because you
And I
had
was
hormonal things going
Exactly.
on.
Right.
yeah.
And I was way too cool for everybody. So, that was happening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, those hormones. That's the other I mean, whew, again, when thinking about having 2 daughters and when they were both, again, let's say, 3 and 1, whatever.
Sure.
My husband and I would joke about, well, what was this going to look like when they got to those teenage years, those
forward 10 or
puberty
15
years,
years, yeah.
and
Tough
it's like,
ones.
ooh, you might also be like in perimenopause, which just so happened to come true. So you're hitting all
the
of
math.
that.
Oh,
doing
shit.
that. Oh shit!
Oh,
This
good.
is
Bermuda
we
Triangle.
we did not plan this well, but we would joke that he's going to have like the greatest lawn. He's like, well, I'm just going to go out and cut the grass. I'm going to have the greatest lawn. And we have a pretty nice lawn. I'm just going to put it out there. I feel, but
He's kept his end of the
he
bargain.
kept his end of the bargain and we kept ours.
That's
All
not
right,
an
that's
end
fair.
of a bargain. That's
It's-
like an escape strategy.
A defense, yeah,
Right,
it's like
right.
survival. It was survival, and I can't blame them. It's tough, and that's one of the things that I don't think you can't understand, right? You haven't gone through it for crying out loud.
No.
So
Yeah.
so you can joke about it in those moments when it seems like it's so far off, and then you're like, holy shit, that should have been an even bigger fear. Like this was coming.
For sure.
I
It
should
was
have.
valid.
It was
Yeah.
it was valid. It's those years are tough.
Yeah.
It is tough.
It's interesting. So Liz, my youngest daughter, is 16 now, and right in the mix of all of the hormonal stuff. And I admit that I have said to her, "Are you getting your period?" Like the worst thing to say, right? Specifically, like my reaction to that comment is horrendous. And I've
Blame
said it
my
to
bad
her.
mood on my period because
Yes.
it can't be anything else.
Right.
Can't be something you said or did, Mom.
Well, I did do the math because we are kind of aligned. So like
so it was.
that it was a legitimate question, despite the fact
But maybe
that
you
I do
shouldn't
know
have
that it
asked
was a
it.
trigger. She's like,
Yeah.
"Are you kidding me?"
Oh
No, I'm not. So are you?
I'm still curious. Just checking. I still need an answer.
Right.
Ooh.
Bad. I mean,
Ooh, that's
really,
tough.
I'm certain in your households, plural, that you had also synced up hormonally
Sure.
to
Yep.
your daughters, and everybody's on pins and needles and grouchy
I
and
remember
exhausted or not feeling well
Yeah.
at the very same time.
I remember people spending a lot of time in separate rooms. That's my recollection of that. And it's been a while. Like, my oldest is in her early 30s, my youngest is in her mid 20s. And so it's been, a while since I've had 3 girls at home,
Yeah.
3 women at home, all having the same cycle. And my period comes and goes willy-nilly. I never know when it might show up anymore. So I'm not synced with Sarah.
Got it. Because you're just in a different phase.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm nearing menopause as opposed to beginning perimenopause.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, I am. I'm 52. This has got to stop sometime soon.
Agree.
Yes.
I think the other thing that I have experienced and perhaps witnessed in my own life with my daughters is that aspect of, oh shit, my mother just came out.
Oh.
Like comments that you make or actions that you take, then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, that generationally just like, I'm right in that pool.
Yeah.
Like, I've just done
Thought
it.
I would never be like my mother, and then I
Yeah.
just heard her come out of my mouth.
And it may be, sometimes it may be just a reaction,
Sure.
right? Because it triggers something and, you heard that your whole life. So, as a child and your mother said it, so you're going to say it too. And other times it presents as oh God, that's why
Now
she
I
said
know.
that. Like that.
Yeah.
Now
I see the reason.
now
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So I used to do this thing when my kids were small and wanted to push the grocery cart. But you know how little kids push grocery carts, right? They're
Not well.
No, you're going to lose an Achilles or somebody
For
else
sure.
near you will. So I would just put my hand on the basket of the cart while they're pushing at the front of like where the bar is. And I would just rest my hand there. That's what I would say. Like, Mom, I can do it. I can push it. Take your hand off. I'm just resting my hand. I'm not pushing it. I'm just resting. I'm tired. My arm is tired. I just need to rest it here. And it would make them crazy. Well, so my older daughter has 2 kids, and I remember she's done it now with both of them. She one day would just call, and she said, "Mom, I turned into you today at the grocery store." I'm just resting my hand on the grocery cart.
Right. And it worked
get it.
just as well.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And she said, and it was Evan or Parker. They were so mad at me, but they just kept running into my heels. I had to do it. I know. And you're welcome.
Right.
Yep.
And you're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's for other people's safety, not just your own. The
Absolutely.
general public is at risk too. I'm just saying.
100% agree. 100%.
Yes.
It's interesting. So Deidre now has Malachi 2.5, and every once in a while I will hear him in frustration. Like if she tells him something that he needs to do and he doesn't want to do it or whatever, he'll go, I'm like, oh, like where did he get that? It's from Deidre. So I'll smirk at her and she's like, I know that he got that from me. I'm like, okay. He'll just
is
grunt it
funny.
out. Like, fine.
You know what's even more funny is that you do that.
I know. Thanks for calling me out, bitch.
Just saying, you
I
do.
do that.
You do.
And I didn't realize it until I heard Malachi doing it,
Uh-huh.
actually.
Isn't it amazing though? Like the behaviors, not just the behaviors, but the expressions.
Yeah.
Like, do you see the facial expressions, like the mannerisms, the
Yeah.
facial expressions, and I remember when my first was born. So I have a wonderful furrowed brow, which which my mother does as well. And I always thought it was more of a, I don't know what I thought it was, but anyway, but like when they handed me my oldest in the hospital, And I looked at her and her beautiful new face, and the very first thing she did was furrowed her brow. And I looked and I'm like, oh my, like, this is a totally nature, like, I know you. Like, I instant, you know, you talk about that bonding that happens, and whew,
I
like,
see you.
I see you, I know you, I know that, and oh, wow, I'm so excited for you, and I'm so sorry.
Right.
All at the same time, and I'm now my mother, like, all of those things that we're saying, right? And it's just, it's so, it's just there, right? And and then it's the things that they learn from us, and the things that have been there since they were born, and it's just
biologically,
the nature, the nurture, all of it. Whew. Yeah.
One thing I remember, when I remember more distinctly when Erica had her first baby. When I came home after the baby was born and everybody's safe and now I'm going to go home, I remember feeling like I brought my baby to the hospital, and she's never coming home because she's not. She's a mom now.
Oh,
That's entirely true.
Yeah.
That's entirely true.
I think it was different with Emily because she wasn't living with me anymore. She had already moved out and was married, but Erica was still living with me when she had her first baby.
Yeah.
So I really remember, like, that hit me very hard as a mom. Like, now I've transitioned roles too, but more than that, I've just watched her transition.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, that was big.
That's huge.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I did not, Deidre was living outside of my home, and I didn't even take her to the hospital.
Yeah.
But I feel that, right? Like, I view my daughter differently now
For sure.
than I did before she had her son, or either of her children at this point. But there is a different, like, you view them through a different lens.
Absolutely.
After they have gone through that rite of passage.
For sure. There's also the, Emily isn't disciplining, right, Hudson, yet. He's 8 months old.
Yeah.
But even just deferring to her in what it is he might need or want in any given moment. When you are used to telling your child, who is now, they're an adult, like, you
Right.
went through that, they're
Right.
adults now, but you don't know all of the things anymore.
Right.
And deferring to them because they have all of the knowledge over this little human.
Yes.
When you are used to being the one with all of the knowledge over the little human.
Agreed.
That's a transition too. Taking that step back and letting them have that. You had it. Now it's their turn. And deferring to them and letting them have that. And, ownership, and be in that place where it's theirs.
Well, and
that moment is theirs.
and to make different decisions, right? Because
Absolutely.
just because you made a particular decision in a certain way doesn't mean that they're going to.
right.
Yeah, Mally will ask me for something, or can I do this? And I'm like, well, that's a mama question.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty clear, mom's the boss.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here to have fun with you, but you have to ask your mom permission first. Yeah. So that's an interesting blend mix.
Yeah, for sure.
Whew.
Yeah.
Well, that's a land I have not ventured into yet, you guys. So I'm taking some notes here, some
kind
mental
of nice,
notes. And
honestly. Like, I like shifting that responsibility off. Like, I don't know I know what I would do, but this one's on your mom. She can deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there, but I think that whole idea of your baby, that transition, and your baby's
Yeah.
not your baby's the mom now, right? Like,
Right.
You're passing that torch. And while it hasn't happened, I've seen, my oldest with, a younger child that they're close with, and she'll send me pictures, and oh, here we are, oh, we had such a good afternoon together, and she's reading her stories,
Aw.
and it's just, I can see, like,
You can
I
see
can
it
see
happening.
them. I can see it happening.
Yes.
And
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. It's such. There's such emotion that I have attached to that. Like, just
Yep.
imagining getting there, right? Like, I can't imagine the basket case I'm going to be when it really happens, you guys. Oh my goodness.
It's a whole bundle of.
Yeah.
I don't think that the emotions, they're placed differently, but they are just as strong and maybe more. I don't know. It's uniquely
It's different.
Yes,
It's different.
Right.
Yeah.
It's uniquely different.
And I think about how that difference between our relationships with our moms and generationally, and how I imagine that's different, will be different
Yeah.
with my own daughters. I think one of the beautiful and traumatizing all at the same time aspects of having daughters is their willingness to challenge me. And to challenge me in a way that, I don't know. I guess I can't speak for my mom, but I don't think I challenged her in quite the same ways. But I'm sure she has a different answer, just so we're clear. Like, I'm sure. But, it's just so interesting. And I like I said, I call it traumatizing and beautiful because I appreciate it. It has made me think more about my actions, my behaviors. It is also traumatizing. It has caused me many, many tears. It has made me respond in ways that I'm not happy with, that I then have to go back and reflect on. But it's also helped me grow in a way that that I don't know that I could have otherwise.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing to know that you're raising women who have the ownership of their own opinions to be able to express them to you as a parent, as their mother. That is a big deal. But I do completely understand the traumatic aspect of that too. I think I'm in a place now with my kids where I do a lot of reflection on what I did and decisions that I made throughout their life, and I have conversations with them about that type of thing. Kind of that traumatic aspect, oh God, I fucked that up, right? And I recognize now as they're growing older the ramifications of me growing up and making mistakes throughout the course of their life, and how I see that now impacting them as late teens and into young adulthood or adulthood. It's that's traumatizing too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
To know that you have that much of a imprint or an impact when you were just a kid trying to figure it out
yourself
yeah
too.
like
Yeah.
you said, there's no book to any of this. You figure it out as you go, and you screw it up good and plenty.
Well, my friend Joni, hi Joni, always says nobody gets to be an adult without needing some time on the therapist couch.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
true.
why, best intentions aside, I cannot believe that anybody looks at their new baby and says, I can't wait to totally F you up. I'm sure that just doesn't happen. Right. And then they get to be an adult and you're like, yeah, so I totally effed you up. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I mean that. Sorry. I really, I did the very best I could.
Right.
In any
With
given
what I knew.
moment.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I did it well.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I did it right all of the time. Sometimes I got it right and sometimes I got it really, really, really wrong. I can apologize for those things, but I can't change it. I can't really fix it other than to say I'm sorry. I wasn't who you needed me to be in that moment. I brought my best self, but that doesn't mean it was really
The best.
the
But-
best. Right.
That is the most I think that is the most amazing gift that we can give ourselves and our children, daughters or sons, is that acknowledgement, right? That, knowing that there's not a playbook and that we're all growing up, like, we all hear those things, we've heard them, whatever, but it's taking it that next step,
Right.
and saying, gosh, wow, I wish maybe I had done this different, or this, or, this is the part of me and why I'm responding in this way. And being able to have that self-awareness and that willingness to be vulnerable, because it is vulnerable, because,
Absolutely.
sometimes you're out in the wild and there could be an attack when you're vulnerable, but, you still got to try.
Right.
Right.
And so being vulnerable and saying, wow, this is how I am, this is why I think I'm this way, or why I respond this way, or why this is a trigger for me, all of those things, being open, like, that's a gift not only to them, but to ourselves.
I agree. I don't remember how old I was when I realized my parents were human.
Yeah.
But at some point, that happens, right? I like to think that I introduced that idea to my children before they had to think of it on their own.
Right.
I was well into adulthood by the time
absolutely.
that connection was made for me.
Oh.
And I know I was a late bloomer.
No, I was too.
No,
I was too. I don't think that is a late bloomer, which is why it was important to me that my children could see me as a flawed human.
Earlier.
Yes,
Yeah.
not just as their mom. I am human, and I am flawed, and I
Right.
make mistakes, and I say things that I don't always mean.
Yeah.
And I try to really hard to use the right words to express how I feel or what I mean to say, so that there isn't a misunderstanding. That, again, it doesn't mean I always get it right.
Right.
But I like to also think that then I own it when I don't get it right.
Well, and I think the other part too, aside from communication, which is a significant part of, those mother-child relationships, but also having to be in situations where I think I'm making the best choice.
Right.
Right.
But I don't know what the best choice actually is. Like, we're both flying by the seat of our pants here, and neither of us know the outcome to this.
Right.
Right? So
I have shitty choice A or shitty choice
Yeah.
B, and I can't see which one is going to end in a better place.
Right. And it's my role, my job as your mom,
Yeah.
to be able to, make this decision. So, I'll cross my fingers and you cross yours, because I'm not sure how this is going to turn out.
Right. Right.
And when you say how it will turn out, that might not be evident for years, decades.
Decades.
And I don't know about you guys, but I certainly know that there have been moments where I've gone back and like, oh, that's why that, and that, now it all makes sense. And truly, decades later.
But isn't that where every individual then ends up with their own work to do? Their own healing that needs to be done, their own, that inner
Absolutely.
work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And option A and option B, they aren't always either like, this is going to work out great and this is not. It's a mixture, right? There's pros and cons to each one of them.
Yeah.
So regardless if you're looking back a year or a decade or, 30 years later, you don't know exactly what was going to happen with that option that you didn't pick, because it could have sent you down a full trajectory that you had no idea, right?
You guys, I've seen sliding doors a lot. I really like it. I'm just going to tell you, you end up in the same place.
Right.
There is that potential,
That's-
right?
Oh.
There's
That's a
that
really good
potential
point.
that it's just,
You
does
were
it
here
take
to
longer?
learn what you were here to
Correct.
learn.
Yes.
Right.
So your life was set up in a way so you
Yeah.
could learn those
Just
things.
saying.
Yep.
You have your
that's
own
a
healing
really
to
good
do,
point.
your own inner work to do.
So quit blaming me.
Right. Right.
I don't have the fucking
Watch
book.
a movie and figure it out.
Sliding Doors. Well, I might have to
Yeah,
watch
you'll have
that.
to-
I've
yeah.
not.
It's
not
old.
seen
Is
it.
Mac Damon in it?
Oh.
No, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well.
I mean, she's
All right.
I
I know
that's fine.
it's old Gwyneth Paltrow. Again,
Sliding
guys,
Doors.
I'm aging myself here.
We're all in the
Goodness.
same boat, Marcy.
Yeah, we
Just
are.
saying.
Yeah.
But
Gonna
yeah,
have to see that.
that is.
It's tough.
It is tough. It is, and you're, God, making. You guys, this is getting very deep, but making those life decisions and the things like it's not only what's best for your children that's always top of mind, but you have to do what's right for you in the moment too. And I certainly know that there were decisions that I've made in my life that I understood would have an impact on my children.
Yeah.
I didn't perhaps understand how large of an impact it would be to them
Yeah.
in that way. But it was something that I knew I needed to do for me. And I don't know that I understood it quite that way at the time,
Yeah.
honestly. But when I look back and reflect on it, it's I needed to do that.
Oy.
Yeah.
Right, because what I needed and what my kids needed may have been completely different things.
Yeah.
Right.
And without realizing maybe what they needed.
Right.
That.
Right. I mean, you're definitely trying.
Well, for sure. It's
For
not
sure.
that I
It's not that
made
you're not.
decisions without thinking about them. I absolutely thought that I had their best interest in mind.
Right.
Right.
But now that I'm looking back, I can see how it maybe was I had my best interest in mind, and I thought it would be best for them as well, but maybe
Right.
it wasn't.
Right.
Or justified, perhaps.
For sure.
Or justified,
I
yeah.
absolutely did that. When I look back at my life, I feel like I use this analogy. I didn't stop digging the hole probably until I was
Yeah.
in my mid 30s. And then I stopped like shoveling dirt out of my hole and realized I was like, now I have to start getting out of this hole. So by that time, my kids were both born already.
Yep.
Like, and I didn't, in retrospect, right? In retrospect, I see that period of my life being that way. While I was doing it, I had no idea I was still digging the hole. Right? I can
right.
only see that 15 years later.
Sure.
Right.
So things that I thought that I was doing that was in their best interest, it was literally digging my hole, and frankly, it had impacts on them. If I'm being fair,
Sure.
they had direct impacts on them during really important periods of their life.
Yikes. All right. Well, that's very
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
I'm going to switch just a little bit. We were talking about challenging
Yeah.
daughters, challenging mothers. Well, because I'm a stepmom, I am seeing the challenging happening, not with me.
Ooh, third
but
party.
yes. Yes.
Oh.
So I can see, and I saw it with Cole too, but right now we're talking about raising women. I can see how Sarah challenges both her mom and dad. And it's interesting. And some of the things I think she's right to challenge. Not that, what I
Right.
think matters at all,
Right.
but
Right.
and there are other times where I can see, where it's appropriate for her parents to be like, that's enough of that.
Right.
And every parent has to decide where that line is, of course. But we were having a conversation tonight, actually, before the three of us met. 3 kids in the house and, young adults, Josh and myself. And we were talking about a situation that had happened in their friend group. And a young girl was maybe not in the most safest of environments, and a young male was maybe not being the gentleman that he could be.
Could have been.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that led to conversations about why rules are different in our house for boys than they are for girls, and how unfair that is. And it was really a very good conversation, and Sarah was challenging those rules.
Yeah.
And I think rightfully so. I can sort of understand that as a dad being protective over his daughter, but I'm also a cheerleader for this young woman who is trying to find her way too. And it's just interesting. It's very interesting. And then to see the different takes of the way the men in the room observed the situation we were talking about, and the women in the room observed that situation. Completely and totally different.
Interesting.
Completely different.
Yeah. Well, and that particular topic brings up another really key point about raising young women, right? Like, where is that balance between making sure that you are safe and putting yourself in environments that will support that level of safety,
For sure.
as opposed to, like, making it so that men are responsible for their own actions.
Absolutely.
Right? And where is that boundary? Because when I was growing up, there were different rules for me because I was a girl as opposed to my brothers or whatever. Because of that exact situation, right?
Sure.
You need to be safe, and you need to, you don't want to put yourself in bad situations. But the next generation, that's a little bit of a different ball game, right?
Absolutely.
There's some ownership on men that or young men or boys or whomever, like that they shouldn't have to create this situation where I need to protect myself as much.
Right. Well, and so that was part of the conversation, was in this particular situation we were talking about, he needs to be a little more careful.
Yeah.
Because it could easily turn into where somebody is crying rape.
Yeah.
And I am not at all saying that is not what happened. There was not any sort of intercourse happening, but it doesn't have to be in order for someone to use those words, right? And if he puts himself in a situation that is not safe for him, that's not good either.
Right.
It's not just a girl being in a situation that is not safe, but I mean that
it goes both ways. It does.
Right. But I don't think we think about that enough, and we don't talk about it enough. That if you are a young man, or just a man, period, and you put yourself in a situation to be alone with a woman, and you are not maybe sure about what it is that's happening, you think you know, and you know what you want to happen, but that may not be a mutual feeling. You don't know. You have to be careful and look out for yourself as well.
Yeah, I think you touched on it, right? It's having the conversation, it's having the open communication. And I think about, raising my girls, my son as well, but when I think about raising them, very honestly, we had a lot of these conversations very, very early. These again, age appropriate,
right?
Sure.
But these conversations, and even for myself, growing up, from the time I was little, I was raised to fight back again. I mean, my parents did tell me. I mean, I even little boy chasing me home from kindergarten, and it was kick him in the ding ding. And but I'm not saying it was the appropriate way to keep myself safe, but it's what I got told.
Right.
And but what it taught me was that I did have control and power to keep myself safe.
That's a valuable lesson.
That was a very valuable lesson, and something that, again, with my children, but with my girls, just really wanting them to feel that, to feel that they had that control, and most of it, again, comes out of having those conversations, and they're uncomfortable.
They
I mean,
are.
that's, that challenging is because it's uncomfortable, and they will come back with questions that you don't want to answer because they are so smart. And they will challenge your own beliefs. They will hold that mirror up for you and, you know, make you, like you said, really think about, like, ooh, wow, we don't have this conversation enough, and we don't talk about these kinds of things, and now we're going to, and ooh, you know, it's all of that wrapped into one. But communication.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in those situations, it shines a light on maybe predispositions that you have, or
Yeah.
you know, preconceived notions, and you're like, shit, good point. Like, maybe my mindset is completely
Right.
wrong about this.
And one of the things that I love, that I think is so challenging, I have this conversation with my kids all the time, is that comes to you, right? And they shut, and you're like, ooh, maybe I have not been thinking about this right. My mindset's been wrong, whatever it is, my
Philosophy,
my values, who knows? It could be any of the above. But in that moment, you're getting that awareness. You haven't been thinking about it for days, weeks, months, years, like they have. When they're hitting you with it, they've been
already
thinking, they've been working on that perspective, whatever it is.
Now they're just checking what
And now they're
they
checking-
already believe or know,
Right.
or are formulating.
And you need time to process. You know, I've said that, like, wow, you're hitting me with something that you've been planning this out. You knew exactly what you were going to say to me. I wasn't ready for this. I need time to think.
Yeah.
I need time to process. I'm a processor.
Yeah.
And I need that time. I can't just react and respond, because if I do, and when I do,
It's not good.
it's not
isn't.
good.
Right.
And it's not what in all likelihood, it's not what I really mean.
Right.
Right.
Agree. It's not what you aspire to be.
Right.
Right.
And when I do have time to process, then I have to not only accept what I've now come to realize, now I have to apologize and undo some things before we can get to
Right.
having an actual conversation about something
Right.
important.
Yep.
Right.
I remember when, I don't remember it so much with Erica, but with Emily, when she was in early teen, and, you know, her hormones are starting, and she's starting to come into her own sexuality, and she was wearing shirts that were, I don't even know where she got them from, because I don't remember buying them, but one day I saw her wanting to leave the house in an outfit that was completely and totally not okay to leave the house in, and she was going to go to school, and I said, no, we're not doing this. Mom, I can, and it's okay, and it's really not a big deal, and I should be able to wear what I want. And I said, in a perfect utopian world,
Right.
you should be able to wear what you want. But you're going to go to school, and there are boys who are going to be looking at you. That's their fault. That's their problem. I can't control what they're looking at. I said, well, no, you can't control what they're looking at. But you don't have to put it in their face, number one. Number two, you don't have to show everybody everything all of the time. And number three is that, and this is the most important, is that the kind of attention that you want? Really think about that. Is that the kind of attention that you want from boys? I know you want to be noticed, because that's the stage of your life that you're in. You want to feel beautiful. You want to feel wanted. I get that. But do you want it because you're showing all of your boobs? Is that really what you want? And then she had to go and think about that. I'm not going to say that she never, skedaddled before I could see her, or, put something on at school that I maybe wouldn't have approved of. I don't know if she did or she didn't. But what I do know is that by the time, so this is middle school, by the time she got to high school, she was the one coming home saying, Mom, you would not believe. You would not believe what I saw somebody wearing today.
Yeah.
And then we could have further conversation about, and what does that say to you as a young woman? Is that the kind of attention that you want the next time you go shopping, the next time you get dressed? Are you thinking about these things when you want to look cute? But do you want all of yourself hanging out? Because
Yeah.
you saw all of that girl's stuff hanging out. How did that make you feel as a young woman for her?
Seeing it on the flip side.
Absolutely. Right. Right. Even having conversations like that.
To really be able to allow them to process, right? To
Right.
dive into like, oh,
I know why you're doing this.
Yeah.
But is it really in your best interest?
Right.
For you. Not what I think is in your best interest.
Right. Right.
But is this is what you are creating.
Yeah.
You may not be aware of that, but this is what you're creating. Is that what you want? And what does it look like when you see somebody else doing it? Would you want other women looking at you like that even?
Yeah.
Is that the life that you are trying to create for yourself? The reputation that you're creating, the self-esteem that you're creating, the self-worth and value, all of those things that go along with choosing an outfit.
Yeah. It gets tough though. And I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. It does really get tough from the perspective of, when I have these conversations with my daughters, Mom, that's not the way it is anymore. You're so old and like, the social media and everything that has truly changed, right? From 1991 when I graduated high school to what things are today, it's entirely different.
It is.
Right? So it's hard. I give you credit for having the conversation, and I agree with your philosophy of let's like have a healthy conversation so that we can just work through, maybe some differing opinions, right? Here's why I think what I think. But when the environment is so drastically different, that becomes a really big hurdle.
It's the environment, but it's also, opening the conversation. I agree. I think I think that's that critical point, because it's help me understand how does that make you feel empowered?
Yeah.
Or how?
Right.
Or, so it's not. It's
getting
taking
to the why.
It's getting to the why.
Yes.
Why are you
And-
dressing that way? What are you wanting to get out of that?
Right. And if that's when you feel your strongest, your best, your most comfortable, whatever that is, I may not feel that way, but okay, thanks for helping me. Thanks for helping me understand that. I didn't grow up in a time where I would have ever felt, for many reasons, from societal, from personal issues, whatever, that I would have felt comfortable. So help me understand. So to me, that's so foreign that I just can't even understand. I can't.
Yeah.
Help
So
me
help me
relate.
understand,
Yeah.
help me relate, because it is so different. And what is available, what is out there in social media, the messages, so many positive messages from a body positivity.
For sure.
That it's so that, how
It's
that,
a fine balance.
It's
It's
a-
a delicate
it is.
balance,
It
right?
is.
I'm not body shaming,
Right.
nope.
but that doesn't mean that you have to show everybody everything all of the time
Right.
either.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
going to school. You're not going to a beach party.
Yeah. It's interesting.
There are different things
Yeah.
that are appropriate at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
I don't know that, honestly, and I came into Cole and Sarah's life when, Sarah, I think, was 12 and Cole was, I don't know, 14 or 15. So I didn't see the younger years, but I do not remember ever one time anybody needing to have a conversation with Cole about the way he was dressed, unless it was, those shorts don't even fit you anymore. Why are you wearing those? Because boys don't think about that.
No,
They're
they
like,
don't.
these are my clothes, and they just put them on,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Those don't fit. Go take those off. They're too tight, right? Like,
Yeah.
they cannot possibly be comfortable for you anymore. What size are those? They're 12. You are 17 years old. You're not wearing a size 12 anymore. Like that sort of conversation.
Yeah.
Which is completely different than a conversation with a young girl around the same age. What are you wearing?
Right.
And why are you wearing that? totally and completely different.
Agree.
Now Cole has a girlfriend who will tell him, that looks ridiculous. Why are you wearing that? We need to go shopping. That you are not wearing that around me ever again.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It is a full different conversation.
Absolutely.
There's different social, I don't know, social expectations, social stigmas. It's tough as a young woman.
For sure.
And it's all of those things again that come right back at just challenging us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Challenging us how we want, how, you know, we don't believe it. Those stigmas shouldn't be there, right? Like,
Yeah.
damn those
They
stigmas.
shouldn't.
They should, but they are,
Should
right?
is a very dirty word.
I know,
And we get
it
stuck in the
is.
should.
Quit
and then
shooting
that
all over
thing's-
yourself.
That.
Damn it. But you know, it's just, it's hard. It's all of those challenges.
For sure. Well, we've been at this for a while. We probably could keep going, but I think we should hit pause anyway for right now and wrap this one up.
These daughters.
I know. Yeah, kids. Great idea.
Yeah.
Who said that was
Everyone
going to
should
be
do
fun?
Well, on that note, thanks to Mind Garden Media, Todd, for
Thank you, Todd.
putting this together. Always just doing the magic behind the scenes and turning it back over and ready to go. This podcast would not be a thing without him. We cannot thank him enough. There are not enough words, and we say it every week, but thank you, Todd. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
From the first moment, from inception
absolutely.
of this idea.
Hey, Todd, we're thinking about doing this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, to today. So if you are thinking about doing this thing, call him. Mind Garden Media. They're on Facebook. They're Twitter and Instagram. They're all over the place.
Yeah,
so
they
just
are.
do a search. You'll find them. They have incredible advice and mentoring, and even if you just are batting the idea around, call them.
They'll help you.
Thanks.
They'll
They
help
will,
you through it.
for sure.
Thank you also to our listeners who continue. Every Monday we put out an episode, and every Monday, man, I am watching the numbers.
You are the numbers girl.
I am. People
Yeah.
wait for Mondays, and
They
that's
do.
our biggest spike on all platforms.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting to see internationally, coming into different areas. So we always thank you for listening, and if you enjoy listening to us, please share with your friends.
Absolutely. Like, share. No, wait. We can't do that
Every
anymore.
time, Tammy.
I know. Like and share, smash all the buttons, subscribe, forward, all of those things. But one thing that has come to our attention recently is that our Facebook posts apparently are not really coming through. They're there, but they're not coming up on people's feeds
Yeah.
regularly.
I think-
our memes and things are, our daily things are, but not our actual episodes. So you may have to go and search for it. But it's every Monday we put out a new one, unless we're taking a break, in which case we'll announce that ahead of time. But every Monday there's another one. Spotify, YouTube, we're on Instagram. Hey, we finally got on Instagram.
Congratulations to us.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Facebook. So we're in all of the other bunch of other places where you find your podcast too. So
Absolutely.
but you just may have to go look for it. Facebook, I don't know how that algorithm works, but apparently there's some goofy thing that we're doing or not doing. So I don't know what changed there, but
Thanks, Marcy, for coming and sitting
My
in the recording
pleasure.
studio with us, chatting about our ladies.
yeah,
Yes.
those girls.
Those girls.
Cute little things.
Great.
They are.
Cutie patooties.
All right,
All right,
everyone.
then. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodles.